Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarLimited.com Deep Dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Joining us on the show today is sprint car driver Billy Dietrich. Before we get to Dietrich, Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA is your one-stop shop on the way to the races. They have fresh-made sandwiches and subs with all the fixins, perfect for a night at the racetrack. Dottie's has everything you need in one location, including a full-service deli, wide selection of groceries, and gas. If you're looking to dine in, head over to the Hive Coffee House and Cafe for a great sandwich. There's also a seasonal greenhouse on site and Dottie's Crab House, where you can dine in for fresh seafood and all-you-can-eat Maryland crabs. Head over to the corner of Canal and Bull Road in Dover, PA. Dottie's Family Market has you covered. Now here's Billy Dietrich. Billy, welcome to the show. I don't have many current drivers on, but you're one of the few, but it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I watch your show all the time, so I'm excited to be on.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. You know, I think people see you on YouTube, but they don't know much about you. And of course, everybody knows Danny because, well, he can't help himself. So, um, so I wanted to get you on, and I remember, and this shows how old I am. I remember your dad racing,
Yeah.
and of course, then I was always involved in it, but I didn't get into the Trailway thing. It just something that didn't happen. But where did you kind of catch this racing bug? Did you just go to the races with him when you were a kid, or how did that all transpire?
Yeah, for sure. My dad started racing sprint cars in 1980. He raced an array of different stuff prior to that, and then he was kind of a little late getting going. I think he was in his mid 30s maybe when he started racing sprint cars, and it just kind of became the natural progression, I guess. Obviously helping him on the car, and then. In the beginning of 1996, he took a pretty bad tumble at Lincoln, bumped his head on the ground. Car went over the turn three fence at the time. Of course, pits were in the infield back then, and so that kind of slowed down his full time racing career. And then '97 is when I started. So I contribute all of this to my dad. This is all his fault for me and Danny.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, what was the first thing you got in?
So, like I just said, my dad raced for a living for about 10 years. And then, like I said, 96, he got hurt. So in 97, back then, you had to be, unlike today, you had to be 16 to even think about racing at Lincoln Speedway. So a 410, believe it or not, the first thing I ever drove was a 410. Way over my head. I didn't even have my driver's license, but, it's what we had. And, so Dad said, "Here you are. Here's a borrowed a fire suit from one of my friends and a helmet, and things were quite different back then. I don't know. You just showed up and you raced. It wasn't like it is. It wasn't publicized, right? We didn't have the internet back then, so I was really really slow. The joke, probably forever, was going to be my family and some of my friends could read the Hoosier on the tire at full speed. So 410 is where we started out.
What was that experience like? I mean, you didn't drive anything. You didn't even weren't even in a street car yet, really driving, unless you were doing it illegally. Uh, what 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 was that whole experience like? Because you watched it all your life, and then you
Yeah.
get in probably the most advanced piece of equipment in dirt track racing. Not a late model, not a legend, not a kind of those feeder divisions up through. What was that experience like getting in the first night and putting that helmet on?
Terrifying. I mean, I'm not too proud to say it. Scared the shit out of me. You never you, the amount of power at your disposal there is pretty amazing. Like you just said, I never drove a vehicle legally on the highway, and I ended up crashing. Probably going about 50 miles an hour. So it was a scary experience. I did have a a few moments during that night where, boy, I don't know if this is going to be for me. First time racing and then crashing. It wasn't a bad crash. They double hooked me. We got back out for the B main. So, I got through it, got over it, and that first experience will be forever etched in my brain. Lots of different reasons, the actual race car, but then there's some unique things about that too that you remember, like the smell of the car, and yeah, here we are all these years later.
So that first year you did the 410 stuff. When did you end up in 358s? Because you went to Trailway.
So that was 97. Trailways didn't actually start racing 358 sprint cars and full time until '03. So 97, 98, we ran 410s. My dad was still, he came back, he was racing, but he wasn't, nowhere near where he was beforehand. And then I'm going to guess, you're quizzing me here. I'm going to say towards the end of 98, maybe even 99, somewhere in there. We knew we were just outclassed, to say it that way, running the 410s at the time. So we ended up going 358 racing. And then, like I said, we ran Lincoln Williams Grove Cars Series was around. We ran that all the way up until it was defunct. And then Trailways eventually, I actually, funny story, I actually won the very first 358 race at Trailways. Maybe you remember this. It was a Mother's Day in 2001. And I forget who won the 410 race, but and then they went full time in '03.
Was that the point? Was there a point in that stretch, either leading up to the Trailway deal? And I'm going to talk more about Trailway because I know Kalita tells me about the battles you guys had there. But was there a point where you realized, hey, I can do this? Maybe not for a living, but I can do this. This is okay, and I can stay in this division.
Sure. When we made the transition, of course, we had all the knowledge, thanks to Dad. He had all the experience, and then myself gained all the knowledge that I had to that point, working on the car. And then when we made the switch to go 358 racing, it was I would say it was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. And I believe my dad's shoulders as well, because we could actually compete, and my dad won some races then. And so I would say in that, I didn't really have any success at all with the 410 until that point. Won a couple heat races, stuff like that. But, I wasn't ready for all of that. So the 358 just kind of worked out perfectly at the time for us and for me. And then, it just kind of progressed along to where we kind of, we were eventually, we were pretty much in contention to win. I would say all the time, not just myself, but my dad. He got better. The speed of 358 was better for him. And then eventually Double D comes along, and that was fun.
Oh, we'll get to him in a minute. The 358, what did that teach you? Especially at Trailway. If people watching this don't know Trailway, it's not there anymore, which had to be painful for you to see go, even though you didn't race there anymore. But smaller, you had to race there. You were in the thick of things real quick, lap traffic quick. You kind of could cut your teeth there. What was the biggest thing you learned? And did that kind of get you comfortable with everything that you could eventually move up to the 410?
Yeah, the Trailways experience was super a positive experience. I feel like for everybody there, but for me personally, it just, like you just said, it was a third mile, tight turns. Kind of had longer straightaways,
Yep.
a little bit reminiscent of Clinton County, but not the same. But the track was generally wet, or it was racy, multiple grooves, and it taught me a lot of things. And I would say at the time to not, you didn't think a whole lot. In other words, you just reacted. There was a pretty large variety of speed in the cars there. You had faster cars. You had guys that were just learning. So lap traffic was sometimes you'd be in lap traffic in a heat race. So it just taught me how to race. Close racing, not at a high rate of speed, but close racing. Lots of contact, kind of almost a full contact racing, and I feel like that was it kind of brought the division along then too. The 358 division was kind of hitting its stride then as well. So it taught me a lot of things, and I took that experience to Lincoln and a lot of other tracks. So it was good for us. Good for me. I won several races there and won a couple track titles there. So it was a good time.
Now, you got a chance to race against your dad?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and what was that like? I mean, to be on the track with Dan, your dad, and come full circle with that, see him back in a car, obviously from suffering that head injury, to be back to be on the track with him and then to get to race with him. Not a lot of guys get a chance to do that.
Yeah. I guess at the time, I was young. I didn't really think about it. I'm much older now, and I would think back on them days, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. You, we have a saying here, me and my wife. It's never really about the racing; it's always about the people. And family's the same way. And racing with my dad was a good time. We were definitely struggling. I was trying to learn how to drive, and he was trying to learn how to do stuff all over again when we started. But then to actually see, the progress we made, and then seeing him win again was good. He won at the Grove in Lincoln, and
Yep.
he won several tracks. So it was a great experience. And then for all three of us to get out there and race. We're going to talk about Danny eventually, but that just kind of came along then too. Danny ends up racing, and all three of us were racing together, and great times, great memories, and I'm glad that we were able to experience it.
How long until Danny came along, and how competitive was it between all you guys?
I think Danny's first full season, I'm going to say, was '04.
Yeah.
No, I'm wrong. '03. He was old enough to race the Trailways in '03, their first full season. He ran a little bit in '02, I think, 305s. But I'll just I'm an open book, so I'll just tell you the way it is when it comes to being competitive. Danny and myself, we probably we didn't get along that great. It's that simple. Back then, I don't know if it was the competitive part of things or what the age difference or the sibling rivalry. I don't know what it is, maturity. But we kind of struggled. We struggled for quite a few years. Now we obviously we got along. I mean, we worked in the same shop and all that stuff. But there were plenty of nights where I'm not sure who wanted to strangle who more.
Now he's 7 years younger than you.
Yeah, yeah,
Was there a point where that relationship changed and you guys got closer?
yeah, for sure. I can't tell you exactly when, but we're good. Things have been good for a long time. It's just he's we work hand in hand all the time. He helps me out a lot, and I help him out too. Maybe not necessarily on the racetrack, but in other aspects of life, I would like to think maybe. And it. I guess it. I'm going to say it probably came to a point where there was maybe a crossroads there where we either had to get our shit together, or maybe it was never going to get together, and we chose to be good friends. So that's what it's about. It's brotherly love.
Because you guys are different personalities. You're more reserved, quiet. Now, of course, I don't know what you're like at home, but at least when I said your wife might disagree. But when I see you at the track, you're kind of reserved, quiet, go about your business. Where Danny's on social media more. He's not afraid to kind of get things rattled a bit or turn over the apple cart, so to speak. Uh, was that some of the early maybe problems you had? I mean, he's kind of brash.
Yeah, maybe. the 7 years age gaps probably was, looking back on it, was probably the biggest problem. I started, I got married young, started a family young. So, with all of that going on for me and then him being 7 years younger, so maybe that had something, thinking back then, social media wasn't quite as hip as it is now. Here I'm saying
No.
the word hip. I feel old. Uh,
That's true.
but, he does, you can't take it from him. He puts himself out there, and then he can back it up sometimes. So, uh, more power to him, man. He goes all in sometimes.
So when do you go to 410s? So when do you decide, or what makes you decide to go? I mean, because today you could be running 358s. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be a Trailway, but you could be running them at the Grove, or you could be running them at Lincoln, or both. When did you decide to go back to 410s and kind of stay there?
Yeah, so I would say we dabbled a little bit. We took some time off, went 358 racing, and then eventually we kind of dabbled. And you can maybe help me out here. Whatever year Todd Fisher ran Thursday nights the first year,
Yeah.
I'm going to say it had to go 405, somewhere in that range. We had a 410. We got another 410. We ran most of them Thursday night shows. And we just kind of dabbled, a little bit here and there. And then I made the final switch in 2012. We decided we had enough of the 358s. The way that class was kind of trending at the time, we weren't really feeling it, and we went 410 racing. So we basically just ran Lincoln and Baps out there, Susquehanna back then, and been there ever since.
When you look, I mean, I obviously you've been a fixture at the local tracks. Maybe not Williamsburg, but Lincoln definitely. And it's got to be because you do this on your own. I mean, it's not like you own your stuff, as far as I know. I've never heard of an owner, except you. How difficult is it to do it in this day and age by yourself? I know you have Racers Used Parts Warehouse, which we'll get to then because I really want to know how that business works. But uh, how difficult is it to do it on your own against teams that, I mean, let's face it, are pretty well funded?
Yeah, I have this discussion in my head all the time. The question you're asking, and I use my brother as a perfect example. He's he's at the top of the local scene, and he can win just about anywhere he goes, even outside of the area. So it's hard for me to to compare uh, things a little bit when it comes to and I'll get to that in a second, I guess. Um, it's tough, because the financial side of it. Obviously, we all know how the sport works. It's always evolving. And we used to do our own, assemble all our own motors and do all that stuff. That's how my dad raced, and that's how he brought us up to race. And we just can't do it anymore, and be competitive. So the gap is definitely gotten. I feel like it's gotten a little closer than it was back, say, in the early 2000s when you had all these high dollar car owners and stuff, and they were seemed like they were leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. The gap's kind of closed up some in the last few years, but at the same time, uh, the cost of trying to keep up, is a struggle. And when you take a guy like Danny who can be on the edge of it all the time, if something's new or they have the resources to buy said item or update this, we don't have that, and we feel like we're always a little bit behind when it comes to that. And I, it's tough. There are times where it's a little defeating or deflating when you're doing the best you can with what you got, and you look at the board and you're still not on it, and
Right.
couple years ago, you could go there and time trial and be on the top 10 and you were competitive. So we're working on it. I mean, I'm not giving up, but it's tough.
And look, I only bring this up because you mentioned how tough it is. I mean, it's been a while since you've won. And
Yeah.
what how do you kind of get motivated to keep going back to the track? Is it just the passion you have from, when you were a kid, or because it's like you said, it's defeating a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, we did win in Clinton County this year, so that was good.
Yes, which I'm going to get to that in a minute too. I think you could beat anyone at Clinton
Uh,
County.
yeah, maybe. Lincoln, we had some, we keep going back because we like to race. Everybody's a cliche, right? Oh, you do it because you love it. It is really true. There's a lot of other things we could do with our free time. But we keep going back because we like to race, and it's a challenge. Um, it's we've been close. We ran second at the Grove. Should have won that night. Lap traffic got me a couple years ago. Was fast in Barry's car there a few times. Didn't work out. And then even Lincoln, we had some nights. Even this year, we were right there. We ran third one night, but we've kind of turned the corner a little bit. I feel like the second half of this year, we got onto something, and our finishes were definitely better. But we just keep going because that's what we do. And for me, um, I say this to my wife all the time. I don't know how much longer, but we'll keep going at least for another year.
Clinton County. And I totally slipped my mind. You win there this year. It had to feel good just to get back to victory lane there. And it's a place that anytime there's a sprint car race, you support that place. And it is a little like Trailway. You go like hell there.
Yeah, I like the smaller tracks. Kind of back to our previous conversation there. It takes a lot of the horsepower out of it and a little more into the setup and that kind of stuff, which I'm fine with that. I, I like it up there. We've won up there a couple of times. Should have won the second one this year. It kind of track took rubber, and I get out of the rubber and lap traffic. Got a little impatient, but they are doing some promoting up there, which is nice to see. I know they're trying to get in the good old boys club here with Speed Week and everything else, which is a pretty big nut to crack, I think. But yeah, I'm excited to get back up there and support them guys, Jason, and we have a lot of fans up there, so it's always fun. We go up there and see everybody, and everybody's excited.
A year ago, you had to sit out a little bit. I believe.
Yeah.
I think it was last year. Yeah, it was concussion. Uh, had a crash or whatever. You've had a number of these, and how difficult was that experience? I've talked. Guys are more willing to talk about it now. Ryan Smith, he talked about it when he had it when he was with Hefner, and Kyle Moody, and this is something that's surfaced more in the last few years, where guys are more aware of when they need to sit out. What was the experience of having a concussion like that, where you actually had to miss races?
Well, actually, I didn't have a concussion. I had, I don't even know what you want to call it. The car kind of landed flat. It was more of a neck issue.
Okay.
It wasn't a concussion. Knock on wood.
That you know of.
Yeah, well, I had no signs or symptoms of any kind of concussion at that time. But yeah, I had to sit out. I had to sit out the last half dozen races or whatever. But I got lucky. It's fortunate, the way the car landed. Could have been worse, but I didn't break anything. Just everything was out of line, out of whack. So sitting out's never good. I had to sit out a couple years ago. I had a detached retina, non-racing related, weird. Just happened. We were on vacation. Woke up one day, or we were taking a picture. And I told my wife there's something weird in my vision. And then a couple years before that, I had another non-racing related injury. So, sitting out anymore doesn't really. I don't want to miss any races, but I'm not trying to prove anything either. So I would encourage anybody that's out there racing, if they're not 100%, there's no point in going to the track because there's a good chance you'll be less than when you leave there if you get beat up a little more.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about that last year, and actually you saying it was your neck. I do so many interviews sometimes that I even forget what it was. And I know you back then you were it was a struggle a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I was hurting pretty good. They did X-rays and stuff, and just the curvature of your neck. Mine was actually going the opposite direction, and then just stuff was out of line, some ribs and all that kind of stuff that they got me fixed up. But we put the chasm system in our car, which I'm sure guys have seen that advertised, and I took a pretty hard hit this year at Lincoln, very very similar, or landed flat on the bottom rails, and I jumped right out. So we try and learn from these things. Nothing's ever safe 100%, but I'm very fortunate to have walked away, as they say, all these times.
So Danny hooks up with Gary Kaufman and things start to kind of really take off. And you're kind of watching this. Obviously, you're racing against him, and you guys are both in a division and whatnot. What's it like watching him having so much success? Because there is the sibling thing, and I know fans say stuff like, "Oh, the other, you got Billy and Danny's having so much success." What's that like for you to see all that?
Well, we'll take one step back. So in 2009, he ran the family car, and and he did well. Um, I assembled the motors, helped him out there. Cars in the shop. I put the motors together. So I felt like that was cool to see him start to have some success. I mean, obviously, I wasn't driving the car, but then I hear some of that same stuff. Oh, you should have that right. I don't. No, it's not the case. I don't feel that way at all. I wouldn't trade what I have here with my wife and the life we have for that. And that's not a knock on that, but I don't want to run 100 races a year and travel back and forth across the country. As far as his success, because people say some weird stuff, right?
They do. It's
They say
weird.
they say weird stuff. Here's my take. There's been a lot of guys, and you know this, and if you're watching, you can stop and think about this. There's been a lot of guys over the years that have had opportunities just like that. And you know what? It doesn't last.
It's true.
They get fired, the team folds, the driver's moving on, what have you. He took the opportunity. Yes, Gary took a big chance on him, but he trusted him. And Danny works his ass off, and I see the hard work he puts in, and he's earned it. He's earned it to this point. I don't know how many wins he's got. I don't know the stats, but
It's a
the
lot.
guy's he's still doing. As far as I'm concerned, is he even in his prime yet? I'm not sure. Maybe if he's not, he's damn close. I talked to guys like Greg Hodnett and all these guys back then, and think about how they were winning into their 40s and even later. So he earned it, is my point. I have no animosity towards that situation at all. Like I said, he helps me out when I need help. We are competitors, but he's my brother. I love him. I'm not gonna, do him wrong intentionally, and and he's earned every bit of it. That's about how I feel about it. And I know there's gonna be some people that are not gonna see it that way, but that's Bill Dietrich's edition.
Do you guys talk about it? To bounce stuff off each other? I mean, you're with each other enough. I mean, do you talk racing like from the weekend? Say he does well. Do you ask him stuff? Does he ask you stuff? How does that work? Or do you guys just not really even talk about what you guys do differently or what you guys do that's he feels right?
No, we talk about it all the time. I
Okay.
mean, that's pretty much all we talk about. We talk about, I would say, everything. Okay, not just racing, but we're close. We talk about family, relationships, life, stuff like that. And of course, we talk about the race. And yeah, he has a good weekend. We talk about it. If it's something he did that he thought could help me, we do that too. And vice versa. If he ever says, "Hey, what'd you learn, or what happened to you? You're doing better," or something. We talk about it all, and pretty much an open. I would say about as open as communication as you can get, and that's probably where it starts and where it stops when it comes to the racing side of communication. You keep that stuff pretty close to you, and but we share pretty much. I would say everything.
Racers Used Parts Warehouse. I hear it all the time. I've seen it on your cars. And what is it? Okay, how did this get started? And what is this business, and how does it, not how it operates, but is it all used parts? And so kind of how, I guess your dad started it?
Yeah. So 96 when he got tore up there, he couldn't race for a living any longer. So eventually he ended up buying the team out that he was driving for, and that's kind of how it started. Um, and then I would say from 96, 97, whenever that was, all the way up until I don't know how long Danny's been out of high school now, but when Danny graduated high school, the things were starting to change in the business. What I mean by that is we were 100% used parts back then. You could come into our store, our warehouse, and not see a new part. Okay, and then through the evolution of the internet and then the smartphones and all this stuff, that kind of really changed the market, and we had to evolve as well. And then we currently today, we're pretty much the opposite of that. We kind of, it does say Racers New and Used Parts Warehouse on our logo now. We didn't want to change the whole logo, but so we're basically a one-stop shop. If you want to go sprint car racing, with the exception of an engine, we have it all. We got new chassis, all the components, wings, seats, you name it, we got it there. And as far as our individual roles there, Dad's 78 years old. He's still down. He's still the boss. He's keeps us in line, tells us what to do and what not to do, and where to go if we don't like it. But Danny does most of the new parts inventory as far as keeping current on stuff, which I would say is good for him as well, because he talks to a lot of the vendors, and it probably helps him out, his race team too, because he's up on all the new stuff. And then we both do sales, and then any kind of mechanical work, that's where I come in. Somebody needs something fixed, worked on, I'm the guy.
And this thing, it's grown. Like this is, I hear a lot about it now. You're one of the bigger, I guess, businesses who does this in our area, in this, I guess, this region, I would say. Uh, and it does keep you busy. This isn't something where you just have it on the side so you guys can go play and go race. This is something you go to every day. This is a legitimate business that demands your time.
Yeah, it's a full-time job, 6 days a week. We're there 6 days a week, servicing all the customers and what they might need. And if we're all over the place. We're nationwide. We even sell stuff to Australia, places like that, Canada, and yeah, it has grown. We One thing about us versus some of maybe the other speed shops around, we are 100% sprint cars. And when somebody needs to know something, they're going to walk through that door and see three racers sitting there that were probably at the track last night with them, or going to the same track, or there isn't much we haven't encountered. So I think that definitely helps us, because we can, there isn't many things that we haven't experienced over the years. And people come to us, they're getting our knowledge, whether that's sometimes not good,
Whether they want
most
it
of
or
the time,
not.
yeah, most of the time it's good. So I think that's helped us a lot.
Has there ever been a time where it's been difficult because something happened on the racetrack with either you, Danny, and then a customer, and kind of it's got to be tough to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, it's a struggle. I hate to say sometimes you race people differently, but you have to, in a sense. Sometimes, uh, Danny, I'm not sure. Sometimes he always does, but there's been some instances over the years where maybe some customers were upset with us for one reason or another. But I'll say it like this too. I feel like um, there were some times over the years where maybe the customers knew that was a possibility and on the track kind of leaned on you,
Took
and
advantage.
eventually, it doesn't end well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I've seen some of those instances.
We're all competitors, so that's where it all started. So yeah, sometimes it gets carried away.
Well, no, I can understand that. You know, social media. So for you do the YouTube thing, and
Yep.
it's popular. How did you get into that? What made you get into that? Because I know people on the West Coast who will watch your stuff. What made you just decide to pick up YouTube? You don't look like a guy who's going to get very tech savvy with a lot of stuff. You seem like a roll up your sleeves guy, and yet you're doing YouTube.
Well, let's say this. I am the face of the YouTube.
Your
Okay,
wife.
that's scary, but my no, my wife is 110% the brains of the operation. She's the the techie person here. To the original question, how and why? Um, I think during COVID, we were just kind of sitting around or something and watching YouTube. And eventually we were talking about it. And my wife's like, well, I think you could do that. And I was like, well, I can do that part that you're looking at, but I can't do the rest.
Yeah.
I have learned about that much of the rest of it. She's teaching me a little bit of how to edit the GoPro stuff, but it's when it. I want to explain something to everybody out there watching this video, so you can understand how the YouTube videos work. I'll say it like this: if I race the car on Friday night, and then we're going to Lincoln Saturday, I'm going to show up at the shop at 8 a.m. and I'm going to work on my car until it's time to leave the track at 5. That's pretty much what it's going to take Heather to do this video. So there's a lot of false, I feel like, ideas out there. This stuff just happens like that. And there's so much time wrapped up in it. And my wife is dedicated. Uh, I I will say, not to toot my own horn her a little bit, but I think she's got some of the best videos out there because we have a different style. I feel like our style of the behind the scenes, I don't know, blue collar race team, maybe that's not the right way to say it, but like the shenanigans, like, it's the real stuff. What you're seeing is real. She puts it all together. She does a great job. And we've it's been good for us with our fan interaction, which we really enjoy that. But that YouTube's not our full time job, so we both work full time jobs. So there are times where YouTube has to take a little break.
This is what you tell her. If she ever gets on you about not knowing enough, you just say, "Look, I'm the talent. I
I'm
don't.
the talent.
Yeah, I don't need to know that.
Well, I'm not sure if she's going to buy that.
I'm trying to help you out."
I appreciate that.
So, um, now we'll go to Danny on social media. I know you've got to sit there sometimes and just go, What are you thinking?"
Yeah, you're right. There, uh, I can remember one time. I forget what it even was because there's a lot. Uh, I
Yeah.
think it was Twitter or something like that. And I said, hey, man, just remember, you're not the only Dietrich. You know what I'm saying? Like me, our parents, everybody else, So um, I'll defend him like this. A lot of the times he says what 99% of the people are thinking. Should you say it? I'm not sure, but he says it.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to some of the other BS out there, strictly entertainment. Strictly entertainment. If he can break the internet, I see. You don't even have to say a word. I know him that well. I can look at his face and be like, "Yeah, what'd you do? What'd you do today?" Well, posted something online. People ain't gonna like it, so it's okay. In other words, I think a lot of people, cliche, right? They love to hate him. In other words, they still read the post and they might repost it or they might comment something nasty. I mean, don't be taking everything so serious, everybody.
I've often, and he's told me this, there's times he says stuff just to say stuff and it sells merch.
Sure.
I mean, he plays the game well.
Yep. He plays it well. And I can remember Fred Raymer, of all people. Fred, he only wants you when he needs you. He was promoting a race at Path Valley one of them times, and he got a hold of Danny middle of the week. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Probably it doesn't matter. He's like, I want you to start some shit on the internet to get some hype around this race. Well, there you go. So, there. That's it. You know what I'm saying? It's entertainment.
You don't do a lot of that. You're more of a Facebook guy. I saw I had a video up and I think you commented on it. It was something with the series, which we'll get to that. Uh, but you're kind of a lower key guy in that regard. And you guys, your personalities are different. It seems to me you're more like your dad than say he is in that regard. Is that just you being older?
No, I was never as I would say I was probably more reserved all along. Um, my wife really kind of got me out of my shell, even to do like this YouTube stuff and the Facebook stuff. I would have never did that before. I just think it's just the difference in us. Just he's just Danny and I'm Bill, and we're as far opposite as we are on that spectrum. We're really not that different. When it comes to how close we are and how we view things in life. It's just the race and things way different. But yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a controversial poster on the internet. I'm not going to go in there and say too much controversial. I don't think anybody really expects that from me, and probably really don't like it hearing it from me either. Danny doesn't beat everybody to it. So
One thing you guys are both are workers. I've talked to people because, well, that's what I do. And I know Danny, I've seen Danny. And you guys are workers. Blue collar, I think, is the right word to describe both of you. I do know that even though he travels more to race and racing's probably closer to a living for him, he takes, you know, the warehouse and the job seriously during the week. And because if you're not able to cover for him, he's there, and vice versa. So where does that work ethic come from?
I would say it came from I guess I would say it just came from all of our parents. Especially dad. He raised us up to work. I think back on it. All the way from when I was in school. I'd come home at night and have chores to do, and it didn't matter if it was 20 degrees outside. If I had to go out and chop wood for 2 hours, that's what I did. And for me, as I grew older and you grew up a little bit, the work ethic all of a sudden it didn't turn into so much work as it In other words, you didn't dread it. It's kind of like going to work or working on a race car. You don't like, oh gosh, this is gonna suck. Yeah, okay, there are some days where it might suck because it's hot or you got a lot of work to do or whatever. But 99% of the time, that's just not the way it is. You're driven to your goals and you want to get stuff done and hopefully have some kickback or reward on your hard work. See some success. So I would say it just was instilled in us at a young age, thanks to our parents, and they all work and still do. So yeah, we work together well. He races a lot. That's fine. I know that, and he covers when Heather and I go away, and we do our vacations and have fun. He stays and works at the shop, so it all works out.
Well, I'm sure he's going to send you to Clinton County, and then he'll stay home that night.
He might. I mean, who knows? The whole deal.
Well, I want to talk about some of the stuff going on in the area and the PA Posse 410 Sprint Series. It's a mouthful. Just on the surface, I have my thoughts. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. What are your thoughts on this series from your team standpoint? And then, well, we'll go with that first. From your team standpoint, what are your thoughts on this series?
Well, my initial thoughts were I said to myself, why? Like, I didn't even understand this. Not saying I totally understand it currently, but when I heard the rumors about it initially, possibly being something, I didn't really understand why we needed that in the area per se. I knew that some of the tracks were struggling as far as respecting each other. I'm going to call it respect. Not so much working together, but like I feel like there's some disrespect amongst the tracks, which is silly in my mind. I feel like we should all be working towards the same goal because we're in the entertainment business in a sense, right? But when I saw the press release and then I saw the races for the 8 car for Billy Dietrich, I don't know how much of this is even going to affect my schedule. And I'll explain because I'm not going to run the 47 races that are on this schedule. We ran 35 races, 37 races last year. When you do the math, okay, if you averaged out, here's how I look at things. Engine rebuilds, obviously it's super expensive. Well, if you run all 47 races, you average, say, 15 races on an engine per rebuild. Well, there's 4. I mean, by the time you sprinkle in the other races you're going to do, you're already up to 4 rebuilds. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for that reason, that part of it. And also, I'm not really sure how any of this is going to benefit a guy like me. I mean, we have special shows every other weekend in Pennsylvania, which is, in my opinion, the polar. I feel like this whole situation is the opposite of what they should have addressed. But nobody asked me except for you.
Well, I'm glad to be that one guy. And I've talked to Danny about it, obviously, and I've talked to about 10 teams about it. And I think one of the things that I hit on was it's too many races.
Yeah, that's too many races. If you took out the speed week, which that's a real bonehead move in my opinion, because that's what is it, 9 or 10 races nowadays? I don't
10.
even know how many it is. 10 races in 10 nights. Let's be realistic. It's unrealistic for a lot of the guys to be able to do that. Okay, yeah, I know that guys do it, but them same 6 or 7 guys, it's just it's just unrealistic, and I don't have a very good opinion on this as it stands right now. And money wise, sounds good. $50 grand to win, all this stuff. But the rich get richer. And the last time I checked, not many people are showing up to watch 5 cars run a feature. So you need 24 cars at a minimum. So we all need a little slice of the pie, not just whoever's going to win this.
Yeah, I don't think Danny's going to run the whole thing. I mean, he's going to miss 5 or 6.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe. Let's just say Lance probably run it all. Would be perfect for Lance, right? Pick
Nah,
and choose. No,
I
okay.
don't
So
think
there's one.
there's no way that 8 car is going to Bedford, Bridgeport twice, and Clinton County twice. There's no way.
Okay, so then that rules that out. So
I
I
have
don't know who's
2.
going.
I have
Two.
two guys,
Yeah.
maybe
So
3, because I've heard that FLG Racing
okay.
with
Yeah.
Campbell's going to attempt it. But I have the 27 with Wagaman
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Freddie.
Okay. So there's 3 cars.
It's not good.
That's not good. You get your mulligans or what have you there, but the other part of this for me is we can use Clinton County as a perfect example, or Bedford or Path Valley, whatever. But these guys are starving to try and crack into the Central PA scene in the sense that they want a premier event. I'm not sure this is the right way to do it. I don't know how any of this benefits these tracks. Or if you can't guarantee that Double D and the 39, the 20, all these guys, if they're not going to be there, what do you have? You know what I mean? And that's not knocking the rest of us. I might be there, and Matt Campbell and whoever, Troy Waldman, but not you can't compare this to a touring series, but it's kind of what it is, right? If the All Stars came to town, you knew you were getting Kenny Jacobs, Dale Blaney.
Yep.
The list goes on, and I'm not excited about it. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but I just don't see how it's going to benefit us at all.
Oh no, honesty's honesty. It's not about being a.
Yeah.
I think more things as things have come. I think the $4,000 sanction fee is going to be a problem for the fringe tracks.
Ooh, that's a big cut right off the top. That comes out of profit.
Yeah, so I think that's could end up being a problem. So I think they're, and look, I'm all for the tracks working together. I think that's great. I think that's long overdue. I'm sure you've seen in your time in the race car in this area a lot of just not uncooperation, no cooperation. And it's great that they all got in a room, and hopefully that opens doors down the road. But I don't know if this series itself or what came out of it is going to change anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Back when we went back, even in the '90s, going back a ways, but
yep.
You had 3 tracks that ran on a Saturday night, the Grove, and then you had Baps or Susquehanna back then. My dad always tells the story. He ran 120 races and never left Central PA. They must have worked together somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like you had Wednesday night shows at Port, you had Grandview, you had Hagerstown, you had all these races, and the traditional races were there too. Labor Day weekend it was different. Seaman's Grove always had a race on was Sunday night,
Yep.
Monday night,
Yeah,
Monday night. So stuff like that. And it's just like I don't know. Things have gone a little sideways in Central PA, which kind of disappointing because I feel like people think of 410 sprint car racing, they probably think of Central PA first.
absolutely,
And,
biggest area.
Yeah, so it's just a shame that we've gotten to this point, and this whole series is kind of coming out. And I know a lot of people don't have a lot of people don't like Jerry Parrish for whatever reason. It's because he owned a race car before, the way things are going to Lincoln. So they're already pushing back, is my point. and it's just catching a little flack here. I guess we'll find out in about a year or even less how all this shakes out. If $4,000 sanctioning fee is a pretty big fee for what I'm going to call a regular show.
Well, yeah, I talking to the All Stars. I think theirs is five or six, and you're getting
Yeah,
a roster of guys who you don't normally see.
correct.
So, I mean, I think that there's the value difference,
Yeah,
so to speak. So, no,
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, if you think about it from the spectator side of things, I'm not really sure what the draw is going to be. You know what I mean? And to me, it's just going to be another race.
yeah, it might. And I've said that I really haven't talked much about the crowd, but my one concern would be ticket prices.
Oh, for sure.
Which I hear that a lot when I do my live show Tuesday and stuff. Every week there's something about costs. So,
Well, there's a couple of ways of looking at that. Number one, everything's expensive, so people are tight on money, rightfully so. You gotta take all that into consideration. So if the tracks are going to bump the admission price up to $30 or $35, that will definitely turn some people off. And if there's ever any kind of questionable weather, forget about it. People
oh,
ain't going. It's
no.
over. Done.
50% chance you might as well.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat.
So you look at the weather as well.
Absolutely. We've made a decision probably 2 or 3 years ago that if the weather we don't race for points. If the weather looks bad, uh, we've already just said we're not going.
And why
Like,
is that?
it costs too much money. In other words, for us to drive to Lincoln or Williams Grove, two things. Number one, it cost you money to get up and down the road. Okay, and then goes hand in hand with that is you waste everybody's night. In other words, I feel guilty. Everybody on this team's coming to the races. They're all coming for me. And if you look at the weather and you're like, well, the radar says it's going to be 80% chance of rain between 4 and 7. Why are we going? I mean, yes, we've done it, and yes, we've gotten rained out, but you just got to be smarter because you got to take everything into consideration nowadays with the cost of everything and everybody's time, and it's just a different culture now. It ain't like it was back in the day where everybody was amped up to go to the Grove on a Friday night and go to their Saturday night track, and they didn't give a damn about the weather. You picked up the phone, you called, 697-5000 for Williams Grove to see if they were still racing, and
They
you just
lied
went.
to you.
Yeah, so it's just different now, and that's what we're up against.
Yeah, I remember calling the Grove and oh no, it's beautiful here. Okay, I'm sitting down the road.
Yeah.
But I've sat in the parking lot many a times in the rain, and it is different. And I don't know if it's just societal. I know from your guys' standpoint, you used to be able to build stuff. You could cut costs by doing your own things, and now you got to buy everything. It's so much. Everybody has the same stuff a lot of times, and that costs money.
Sure.
It's
Yeah. I mean, anytime you get in that truck, turn that truck on, the wheels start turning, it costs money.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So away from the series, how long do you plan to do this? I mean, how old are you now? What are you, about 42?
44.
But I was close.
Yeah,
So
you're
you're
close.
44. I missed a couple of the gray hairs in
Yeah. Hard to miss all this. I should get some just for men.
that's the hunting. I guess that's your hunting beard.
Yeah, it's my hunting beard. In about 3 years, I'll just be Santa Claus as well.
Oh, let's hope that doesn't happen. But how long do you plan to do this? I mean, what?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you're a lifer with obviously the business. But how long do you continue to get in the car with the expense, the way things are going? Uh, just or you just have enough of it, but you don't do it a ton. It's like you said, you're not running 70 races a year.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I don't really have a good answer for that. Just, I would obviously I'm closer to that side of my career than I am the other side. Uh, there's a few guys older than me in the pit area, but not a whole lot many. Um, so I mean, I feel good. Physically, I got beat up a little bit, but that's normal for a race car driver. But physically, I feel pretty good. So I don't really know. The timing's right. We'll just quit. Heather and I we're having pretty good time with it, and like we enjoy the fan interaction and all that stuff. And the racing's always going to be the racing, right? So when you don't win or you don't have any hope, uh, that's when you really think about quitting. And so to be a little competitive, the second half this year, we made a couple changes which really helped us out. Win a race at Clinton County. That puts a little pep in your step, so makes you want to get in there and do it again. So couple more years. I don't know. It's the best I got right now.
It's like that scene from The Godfather. I'm out and it pulls me back in.
Yeah,
When you do it, when you have a couple good runs, you're like, don't want to quit now.
yeah, yeah. I figure I'll race a couple more years and then I'll always be involved. I don't. You never know what the future holds for that. But seems like there's always plenty of up and comers, and I have a lot of knowledge, so maybe that'll work out for me too. Somebody's gonna need to set them cars up and work on them. So you never know what the future might hold.
Well, it's funny. Danny says, I only want to race on 35. Well, he's changed it to 40 now. So I figure that's going to just keep getting pushed back. Uh,
Yeah,
I have kidded him about that a couple times, but maybe he retires before you.
yeah, you never know. But I knew that 35 mark wasn't gonna be enough.
No,
So
he was full of it.
yeah, I've heard it all out of him.
Do you ever see yourself maybe putting somebody in your car?
Um, I don't know about that. I mean, we've kicked around the idea a little bit, of doing something different. Um, but that's about as far as it goes. There
Yeah.
are, there's some intriguing things going on in the racing world. When these, like I just said, guys want to race, but they don't have the equipment or they don't have the knowledge, and they're willing to pay for a ride. So and bring stuff to the deal. So I'm not ruling anything out moving forward. I even thought about maybe getting in the booth up there and doing some announcing sometime.
Look at you. Now you're all of a sudden a sprint car personality. Gets on
That's it.
YouTube. You get you get on YouTube. Now you're going to be an announcer.
That's it. You never know. I could be like Mean Gene.
Oh God. Yeah, I know you're into that. I mean, I've heard about this and seen it, but
Yeah.
and you never know, they might be looking for an announcer soon at some area tracks. You never know. I mean,
Yeah, you never know.
you could be the series announcer,
That's
traveling
it.
series announcer.
I'll be the unbiased series announcer.
Oh, actually, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
That might entice me to go to Bedford.
Ratings are up. Tune in.
Ratings are up. Then you're going to want a bigger check, though.
Yeah, probably.
So your wife's going to be your agent. Seems
That's all right too.
shrewd.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right. Shrewd. She's shrewd. Well, Billy, I don't want to keep you all night. Football games coming on. I don't know if you watch football or not. What do you watch football?
Absolutely. Pittsburgh Steelers all the way. I'm a little embarrassed to say that, but
Jesus.
hey, I made it through the Bubby Brewster era. This
That's
Aaron
good.
Rodgers BS is just it'll be gone soon, and well, maybe we'll suck next year too. Who knows?
Well, you got a big game this week. I mean, the division's up for grabs at least. I mean,
Yeah, Baltimore ain't any good.
no, no, no. And I can't really say too much. I'm a Dallas fan.
Well, I mean,
It looks good right now for 3 games, but they'll rip my heart out
yeah.
in a
You
week
know
or two.
what I thought was cool about Dallas was them helmets they had on with the red and the white and the blue.
You know what? Those uniforms were garbage. They were garbage. I hate the. Don't get me started.
Hey, we got the worst throwback uniforms
You
ever.
do. You
We
do.
do. Oh, but
Yeah.
hey, it is what it is. It's just for fun.
Well,
Football.
yeah. I mean, look, and there might be a wager or two to be made tonight. You never know.
Never know. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Detroit, right? Detroit.
It's Detroit and Dallas.
Yeah, I know.
Could be a good game.
Could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
spread's 3.5. I've heard.
Yeah. I only do the fantasy football. I don't do any of the. I don't understand the spread and all that stuff. So
You leave that to Danny.
yeah, he's the high roller.
Oh, I've heard about those Vegas trips.
Oh yeah, well, the less I hear, the better.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Well, that goes back to happy wife, happy life.
That's exactly right.
So, well, Billy, it was a pleasure having you on. I appreciate it, and obviously, I look forward to seeing you at the track this year. And good luck with the YouTube stuff. I've tuned in, as you know, I check everything out, and I'm glad I was able to have you on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You do a good job. I watch all your stuff as well. I really, really like the new 90 at 9 intro. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And won't be long. We'll be at the races.
All right, Billy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep. See you.
That's going to wrap up another edition of the SprintCarLimited.com deep dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Thank you very much to Billy Dietrich for joining us on the show. It's a pleasure to have him on. A lot of good stuff there. If you like the content on our YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and you can check out our daily exclusive content at SprintCarLimited.com, where you can get a year subscription for only $28 with the coupon code HOLIDAY 2025 at checkout. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Deep Dive.